Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the top 10 values, the top 5 receivers, the top 5 running backs. Smack those bad boys together, bada bing, bada bang, and there you go, the top 5 stacks. Or not even stacks, values. The top 5 values. The stacks is coming tomorrow. The top 5 values, capiche? All right, this is what we're going to do. Subscribe button pops up right there. I appreciate if you tap that, whether you're listening on the podcast, the YouTube channel, whatever it might be. And we're going to slide right into it. Starting with the receivers this week. We'll start 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then do the same thing with the running back. So the number 5 receiver this week in my projections, ownership ranks, all that stuff, the optimizer, the Discord, it's all loaded up on Patreon and even more. The number 5 player is going to go by the name of Mr. Amari Cooper, the man who won the game for the Cowboys with Cooper Rush on the last time you saw them, Sunday Night Football versus the Vikings. Now, they're saying early on, Mike McCarthy, that he thinks Dak's going to play. Either way, obviously better with Dak Prescott. Either way, Amari's going to look good at this price tag of $5,700, but this is projecting in Dak Prescott. I have Amari Cooper projected for 15.7 fantasy points, and he has a team total, as Vegas also thinks Dak is playing, of 29 points. So more than 4 touchdowns his team is projected for. Let's hope he can snag at least one of those. But some things to know about Amari Cooper. He's going to have a matchup against Denver's number 22 secondary. This is not your mom and pop's Denver's defense. This is not even your college or high school defense, depending on how old you are, when they were in the Super Bowl against the Panthers. This is a totally different secondary that is really struggling right now. The ribs have looked much healthier since the bye week. That was a concern like after week 2, week 3's game, and he struggled a little bit in those games. And now the ribs look a lot healthier. He has a strong 22% target share, which is resulting in 8 targets per game right now. And he's top 5 in targets of 20-plus yards downfield, which in games where he's not seeing 8 targets and he has 5, he's still been able to produce because of those targets downfield, lead to big plays and often touchdowns. So Amari has 15 or more points in more than half of his games this year, and that's around where we have him projected at. And this is the thing. The price tag of $5,700, he doesn't have to go out there and have the 20-plus point fantasy day for us. That's always what we're wanting. But at this price tag, yeah, what he has to do is go score 15 fantasy points, which Amari Cooper, right, even without a touchdown, is more than capable of going out there and having 7 catches for 80 yards, right, of having a 100-yard game. It's more than capable of happening. So Amari Cooper, our number 5 value receiver right on now. Our number 4 receiver is going to be an expensive player, but when I talk about values, somebody commented last week, and it's a fair question. What do you mean values, Sally? You got Deebo Samuel from last week at $7,400. Cooper Kupp is $9,000, and their value plays for you? Yeah, the simple answer is yes. Value is often misrepresented in DFS as being cheap. That is not what value means. Like value, you go to the store, what's a good value? Oh, no. It's bang for your buck. You go to the store, what's a good value? Bang for your buck. What is a good value? What is the sale right now? The value play is, in DFS, point per dollar value. You're bang for your buck. How many points per the dollar that you're spending? That is the definition of value. Not cheap. Cheap players are just cheap players based on salary, not taking into account projection, which is what we do on Patreon. Go on and get in there. So this number 4 player at $7,800 is yet again on this list. Deebo Samuel, after popping off last week for a 170-yard game, rolls his ankle a little bit on the 1-yard line trying to get a touchdown, so just track his status. But I have him at 21.5 projected points. I have him as a 23 team total, a matchup against the Cardinals, which is going to be a tough secondary, but it has been exposed in certain matchups, right? When they're not facing Baker Mayfield and a team that is banged up with Baker and trying to run the ball. When they're not facing the Packers, who are down their top 3 receivers and then lose Robert Tonyan in the game. They have been exposed at times this year, but still fine matchup for Deebo, who right now leads the NFL and is striding towards record-setting pace with a 36% target share. He also has a 36% target rate, which means that when he's running around, 36% of the time when he runs a route out there, he's getting a target, which is just absolutely insane. That's number 3 in the NFL. His 117 yards per game is top 2. He's getting over 18.5 fantasy points per game. He's on record-setting pace for yards per route run with 4.14. If only Davante Adams wasn't beating that this year, which is just crazy how efficient these guys have been. And here's a crazy stat for you. Deebo Samuel on Draftkings has scored 16 or more fantasy points in 6 out of 7 games, and 24 or more, which is more than the projection I have today, and more than half of his games in 4 out of 7 games. So just track this injury on Deebo Samuel. He's the number 4 value wide receiver this week, and Deebo Samuel is going to be my highest projected SuperDraft play, if that means anything to you. But SuperDraft is running a $175,000 contest this week. It's $25 to enter. This is where your first $25 should be going. And lucky for you, if you use the code SAL upon your first sign up, you get a free $25 right there. This contest will not fill. You don't know about SuperDraft. You vaguely know about SuperDraft. You only know about it from me. That's basically how they're getting their word out right now. And if the contest doesn't fill, however many spots it doesn't fill by, those lineups get zeros. So if this is going to fill at 70%, 30% of the lineups get zeros. You beat 30% of the field, right? You beat them immediately by scoring 1 point. you're going to have a 30% better chance at winning money, at winning first place, at finishing top 1 and top 10% on SuperDraft than anywhere else. And this isn't chump change, $175,000 contest. So go in and get that. Deebo is my highest projected receiver right now, so you can come down here. You can add Deebo in, and we'll show you the other receivers that I'm liking as we get through this, and then we'll talk about some running backs, let you choose your quarterback, your tight end. We got some projections over on Patreon. Bada bing, bada bang. That's where we're going to number 3. Number 3 wide receiver value right now is a man who's priced at $5,300. A man who I put a couple tweets out about, and we'll pop those up on the screen as we get to him. But Devante Parker in Miami, this price tag on him is just disrespectful. I mean, this is an ex-alpha receiver on the outside, right? Your 215-pound build, your 6-foot-plus monster receiver who's on the outside and is going to have just built-in inherently better matchups because of his size and speed. I have him projected for 15.2 points this week, and Miami, of all teams, has a 27-team implied total. You might actually be able to stack 2 this week, and we'll talk about that tomorrow if that's a possibility on the top stacks video. But look at the tweet I put up. Why do you like Devante Parker at $5,300, Sal? Where is this projection coming from if it's looking so good? Well, the reasons you're not too keen, if you're not, and maybe you are, but to Devante Parker playing really well this year is because it's Miami. Jacoby Brissett's been playing. Nobody wants to look at that. Devante Parker has been injured. He's always injured. Bada bing, bada bang. Yeah, Jalen Waddle, the exciting rookie. Mike Gesicki's popping off, right? In these London games on primetime. They're only primetime games. But now you're getting a matchup versus the number 31 secondary in Houston, a very strong 24% target share on 8.6 targets per game. You see the tweet. He has 7+ targets in all 5 starts. Miami, his team, is top 5 in passing plays per game. And he's had at least 12 points in 3 out of his 5 games in a limited sample of just 5 games. Devante Parker looks oh so nice this week at $5,300. Has real upside, has a legitimate floor in this offense because of how much they're passing, and he is the number 1 target in target share when he's out there for Tua. So Devante Parker looks very nice. Now this next player is going to be a top value for me regardless in terms of what was going to happen this week. There was some very unfortunate news in terms of Henry Ruggs, and there's some stuff coming out about that more and more. I don't have all the details. Nobody has all the details. That's going to be in the public eye as of my recording of this, but it does not seem like Henry Ruggs is going to be able to play football this week. Even if Henry Ruggs was able to play football and things got changed by the time that Sunday's happening, which does not seem likely right now. Again, everybody involved, rest in peace to the driver who was killed in this accident. It is a accident that did not have to happen for obvious reasons. Please, 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 you out there, tell your kids, we have Ubers, we have Lyfts, we have everything possible at 3 in the morning, at 1 in the morning, at 3 in the afternoon if you're having yourself a day drink. If you are not feeling yourself, if you are impaired, do not drive. There you go. There is the talk about it. Do not do it. Do not do it. It is not worth losing 10 to 20 years of your life in prison, or even worse, killing somebody else or killing yourself. So Hunter Renfrow already looked good for me this week. Hunter Renfrow at $4,800, who quietly has just been having a fantastic season. I mean, Hunter Renfrow has 11+ fantasy points on Draftkings in 6 out of 7 games this year. Yes, in most of those games, he's been in the 3K or low 4K range. He's still in the 4K range now. He quietly has a strong 21% target share at 7.3 targets per game. So he's seen 7.3 targets per game. He's like averaging 13 fantasy points per game, and now he's priced at $4,800. I have him for 13.8 points. He has a 25.5 team total. If Henry Ruggs is out, I think that's going to open up deep shots for Darren Waller. Zay Jones gets on the field, deep shots for Bryan Edwards. But the guy who already leads the team in target share probably gets a bump up in target share. Maybe goes from 21 to 23%. Instead of 7.3 targets per game, now it's 8.3. Now instead of 13 fantasy points per game, it's right around where I have him at, 14, 13.8. Hunter Renfrow looks like a solid option in that range. Bryan Edwards will also look like not a top overall value as I pull up the projections right here, but he's going to look like not top 5. He's not in the top 5 list, but Bryan Edwards comes in right around like the number 9 wide receiver value of the week with significant upside downfield since he will see a couple of 20+ yard targets in this game. So there you go. Now, the number 1 value is going to be very similar to last week when we said, it's Cooper Kupp, and everybody rolled their eyes. Fucking Cooper Kupp, this guy. Yeah, well, Cooper Kupp ended up going out there and scoring another 27 fantasy points, having another pedestrian game of just 100 and something yards and 1 touchdown. The number 1 receiver this week is my highest projected receiver at 24 fantasy points. He is the most expensive receiver, but he's not $9,000 like he was a couple weeks ago on the main slate, or like Cooper Kupp was last week. It's $8,200 Davante Adams projected for 24 fantasy points, a team total of 28.5 against the Kansas City secondary that ranks 17th in the NFL, the number 1 game environment here. They are going to come into this game as, believe it or not, favorites by like a point or two, depending on the book you're looking at, and only behind Deebo Samuel in target share right now at 34%, 10.4 targets per game. He's ahead of Deebo Samuel with 4.2 yards per route run, which is record-setting pace. He has 20-plus fantasy points in 4 to 7 games. He has 10 or more fantasy points in every single game. So his floor is somewhat sturdy for you. Now, with this price tag of $8,200, it looks even better. He's not $9K. He doesn't have to go out there and get 25-plus points. At $8,200, you're feeling pretty good if Devante gets you 22, 23. We have him projected for 24. In this one, he is number 2 in the NFL in air yard share and target share. His target rate right now is 41%. When he leads, when he goes out there and runs a route, he is getting thrown to 41% of the time on his routes. Almost a coin flip. That's pretty freaking insane. The only thing you have to do for him is just track his COVID status. He was, I believe it came out on Monday morning last week, so this would be almost 2 weeks. We're hoping that it is gone by then. We're hoping that he's not even having symptoms right now. Whatever the updated reports are, he's expected to return, but we've seen some other players miss a couple of games. Gerald Everett missed a Thursday night game and then the following Sunday game because of how COVID was affecting him, so we'll just track that. But there you go. Davante Adams, the number 1 projected player, the most expensive wide receiver, but he is still underpriced here. Davante Adams is about $1,000 to $1,300 underpriced based on my current projection on him. There you go. We can talk about the other receivers that I think are going to be nice, pretty plays right now. And here's a couple of them right now. So a man who was just missing this list, he was my number 6 value, is going to be Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks pops up as one of my highest projected, a top 3 player. Actually, he's my number 2 projected player on SuperDraft. He's my number 6 value on Draftkings. We talked about Devante Parker and his reasons, and we talked about Deebo. Brandon Cooks gets you there a lot of the times. He's going to be moved around the field, so I'm not too worried about Xavier Howard in that specific matchup, who's actually that entire secondary has struggled, and I don't think they're going to be shadowing Brandon Cooks. I don't think they'll be able to when he moves into the slot and moves all over the field. So those are the 3 receivers that I like. We'll build in 2 running backs. You can get your tight end, your flex, and your quarterback. We can give you some options, but this is the SuperDraft contest. Again, go and play it. The code SAL, get a free, F-R-E-E, free. There's a nice little song for you. S-A-L, Sal, my name, free $25 when you sign up and you put in 25. So now we just massaged it through the wide receivers. Now we're going to just crack your back into the running backs. The running backs crack your back, do all what you got to do. Make sure you don't break your back, just crack your back. It feels better, a lot better. So number 5 is going to be the most expensive running back, I believe, and that is going to be Mr. Returning to action this week, Christian. Actually, second most expensive, McCaffrey. I'm expecting McCaffrey to return this week, of course. He has been said that he's going to practice. As of my recording on Wednesday morning, right before I release this, we don't have the first injury reports. But if McCaffrey does return this week, I have him for 19.6 fantasy points, my highest projected player. A team total of 19 is very bad. But for McCaffrey, we've shown time and time again for 3 to 4 years now, it doesn't matter what his team total is because that motherfucker is a wide receiver 1 and a running back 1. He has a positive 11% matchup versus New England's number 22 run defense this week, and he's only played 2 full games this year, like 5 full games over the past couple of years, and he's still averaging like 25 plus points per game. In those 2 games this year, he's averaging 30.5 opportunities. He has 46 attempts, 15 targets, 324 total yards in not 3 games and not 4 games, which would be good, in 2 games, and he has a touchdown. So McCaffrey, if he plays, he is going to be, for me, even if they say I'm McCaffrey, unless they come out and specifically say McCaffrey will be playing 50% of the snaps because we like Chuba Hubbard, who's seen 17-plus opportunities in like 4 straight games. Unless the coach specifically says that, and otherwise if they just say we're going to play it by ear and see how it goes, McCaffrey, I'm going to be playing him. I'm going to be playing a whole lot of him. The number 4 value is $7,900. He is quietly smashing. I mean, not even quietly at this point anymore, but still people just, I don't know if they just doubt him because he's undrafted still to an extent. They don't feel good paying these high price tags because they remember when he was with Melvin Gordon splitting the touches, but also Ekeler for 19.5 fantasy points. Virtually tied with McCaffrey as my highest projected player on the week, and unlike McCaffrey, he has a much better team total of a touchdown plus more at 26.5 team total. Also, Ekeler has a positive 50% run blocking advantage versus Philly this week. It's a top 10, borderline top 5 matchup. He is seeing 18 opportunities per week, and he's only running the ball 12 times. So if you do the simple math, 6 targets per week for this man. He's 4th in the NFL amongst running backs for routes run. He is seeing 6.2 yards per touch. So he's getting the volume now. He's getting the efficient volume that we like to see in terms of receptions. Not only receptions, the bonus touches for running backs, those targets, but also the red zone touches. 28 red zone touches is already a career high, and he has 6, count them, 6 in the NFL in that department. So this guy's getting everything. He's getting the routes run. He's getting the targets. He's getting the red zone touches now, so this must be resulting in fantasy points, right? Yeah, bada bing, bada bang, you're right. 23 plus DraftKings points. 23. Winning you a week if you have him in your lineups. He's not the reason you're losing by any means. He's the reason you're winning. In 5 out of 7 games this year. I mean, week 1, he didn't have any targets. Oh my God, he only had like 11 fantasy points. Oh my God, this is awful. This is brutal. What's happening with Ekeler? Since then, 23 plus fantasy points in 6 out of 7 games. Get yourself some Austin Ekeler. Austin Ekeler right now as it resides over on SuperDraft is my highest projected player. So we go right here. We go 2 running backs. We say, give me some Austin Ekeler at his 1.1x multiplier. If you're not familiar with the multiplier format, this is not salary cap based. You play whoever you want based on your projections. And lucky for you, I have projections. If you're a patron, 1,000+ members over there, taking advantage, smashing SuperDraft, winning the $1,000 last week. Somebody ended up splitting the main SuperDraft contest, I believe, on the showdown and won like $4,500. Somebody came in second on the main one last week with $40K to first. Someone like $10,000. Lovely week if you're a Patreon member or if you're just a viewer of this show. So Ekeler will be my first running back that I get to on SuperDraft, and we smash the dollar Ruskies with him. We'll give you another one as we go through the rest of these. Now, the number 3 running back for me is going to be one Ezekiel Elliott, the Dallas Cowboys. They're all undervalued this week, $7,000. In Ezekiel Elliott's role, you want Dak in there from a red zone usage and all that type of stuff, but there's an argument to be said that he's going to look better in terms of his specific projection, barely by a point, if it's Cooper Rush, right? You get more targets, you just get more rushing opportunities. I want Dak so we get a better offense and they don't key in on the run and we get more red zone opportunities, right? But Kellen Moore was able to make Cooper Rush do whatever he wanted in that game, especially towards the end of it, throwing for 300+ yards. I have Ezekiel Elliott for 17.4 fantasy points. He has the best game environment probably for a running back when you factor in the actual environment, a 29 implied team total, 8.5 point favorites, and then his skill set in this offense with this offensive line. This is probably the best spot. His matchup is a positive 63% versus Denver's run defense this week. That is going to be a top 5 matchup of the week. So top 5 matchup of the week, right? He has 20+ touches in 5 straight games. He is averaging 20.6 opportunities per game and around 4 targets per game this year. And in his last 2 games, one with Cooper Rush, one with Dak Prescott, 11 catches on 15 targets. If that starts to come through, if his number 6 in the NFL routes run per game of 21 starts to come through with more and more targets that we did not see the first 2 weeks of the season, right? It's going to be a smash play. This is going to be a walking 20 points every single week if that starts to come through. Because we already know he's getting the volume on the ground. We already know that he's seeing some usage in the air. But he's also getting all the red zone usage. 29 red zone touches is right now top 5 in the league. He's number 3 in goal line touches. Ezekiel Elliott for me right now is a smash play at his current price tag of just $7,000 flat. He's in a price range right next to Saquon at $6,800, who if he returns and they give him a full role looks good, but there's a good chance they ease him back in like they did week 1 of the NFL season. Zeke, there's no easing in. He's putting his big old eggplant down and he's rolling through the competition. And because of all that, Ezekiel Elliott is a top 5 projected SuperDraft player for me. I do indeed like where his current multiplier is at a 1.15x multiplier, meaning every point that he scores, he gets an extra 1.15x. So we're building an all-star team. Ekeler, Zeke, Cooks, Parker, Samuel. We have to try and get different somewhere. Will we get different in the flex? There's ways to get different in the flex, especially at the wide receiver position. I'll leave that up to you guys, but some interesting ways to get different. Bryan Edwards. Other ways to get different. Jacoby Myers. You can get different with T. Higgins in that position. Hunter Renfrow's really highly projected as well over there. So probably one of these Oakland receivers, and then get yourself something in the department of quarterback that looks a little bit different, but like 2 or 3 guys mainly stand out at quarterback this week. So top 2, and he is 2 in terms of the values at the running back position. The number 2 guy is going to be $5,300, same price as Davante Parker. I prefer Davante Parker by a significant amount if you're talking flex play here, you're comparing them, but it's going to be Chase Edmonds at the running back specific position. I have him for 13.2 points. He has a 25 implied team total this week. He has the number 1 offensive line versus defensive line advantage this week versus the division rivals in San Francisco. 14 opportunities per game is not good for a running back, but then you see what he's doing. He's seeing about 5 targets per game. He has 10+ fantasy points in 6 out of 8 games, and you have to factor in the price point. 10+ fantasy points is not really meaningful if your name is Christian McCaffrey or Austin Ekeler and you're at their price tags, but he's $2,000 cheaper. He's $1,600 cheaper, right, than these guys. So it's a much different conversation. We want 15 points out of him. We feel really good, like the Davante Parker price tag. So what you're getting is number 6 in the NFL in yards per touch. He's been very efficient, and a lot of that is going to have to do with getting the ball in the receiving game. Chase Edmonds, a man who finally scored a touchdown last week, and when those touchdowns come, it's going to be walking 15 to 20 point days. $5,300 is the number 2 running back value. Now, drum roll, please, as we talk about the number 1 running back value. We have talked about a receiver and a running back on the same team with the Dallas Cowboys. This is going to be another receiver running back conversation from this video. My number 1 receiver was Davante Adams on the Green Bay Packers. My number 1 value running back this week, in the best game environment of the entire week, is the Green Bay Packers running back, $7,200 Aaron Jones. Massively underpriced here. Ezekiel Elliott is underpriced at $7K. Aaron Jones, massively underpriced here. He has currently a favorite with a 28 implied team total. He gets a matchup, a positive 64% matchup against the dead last ranked Kansas City defense. 18.2 point projection for me might actually be about a 0.2 low. His 37 red zone touches is number 2 in the NFL behind Mr. Jonathan Taylor. 37, count him. That's more than Derrick Henry. 18 opportunities per game this year, seeing 5 targets per game, and he has 18 or more DraftKings points in 5 out of 8 games this year. And a couple of those games where he doesn't are the obvious games. They're the obvious games against the Saints defense week 1 that nobody's scoring against the Bears defense that they didn't even try and run against. They had a specific game plan in that one, right? Those are the obvious games. This one is an obvious game where he smashes, and I expect him to, because when he's supposed to smash, he goes out there, he swings around the baseball bat, he hits dingers, shout out the Braves winning the World Series, and he smashes $7,200 Aaron freaking Jones. My God. Now, appreciate you being here. Appreciate you having fun with me. I'm worked up. I'm getting excited. Thank God we got football tomorrow, Thursday night. Thank God we got Mike Wentz and Carson Wentz to fuel this, to take some of this aggression for football and watching it out that I have right now for these top 5 values at each position. Hey, hit the subscribe button. Hey, let me tell you about Mint Mobile, the proud sponsor of this here show right now. You might not know what the fuck Mint Mobile is. You might be saying, I already got Verizon, I got AT&T. I already got all these things. That's exactly what I said. No, I'm being dead serious with you. Everybody out there has a cell phone. I got my iPhone right over here, right? This nice iPhone I was playing on Verizon with the hotspot plan. I wanted to be able to pay for that because I work in cafes that sometimes you don't know the Wi-Fi. I work in airports. I work on the car sometimes. So I wanted the hotspot. So for the all-inclusive data and the hotspot, I was paying like $105 a month on Verizon, which is a hefty fucking bill, let me tell you that much, right? But there was no way around it. I talked to AT&T, it's like the same fucking thing, and then you got to deal with the hassle of switching over. And then Mint Mobile reached out, and they said, hey, you want to sponsor us? And I'm like, I honestly don't know what you are. These cards, sometimes these phone things are a little bit sketchy, you know, they got bad service. They said, that's not us. Here's the thing. Mint Mobile, here's what they did. Genius, don't know why anybody else didn't do it. They got rid of all the stores. You go into the Verizon store, you go into the T-Mobile store, they got rid of all those, which are very expensive. They got rid of all that shit. All that stuff they got rid of. And what did they do? They just made it all online. They send you your SIM card. They do everything virtually. They do everything through the mail. That's what they should do. They call you answer them on the phone. They can help you out perfectly, just like as if you were in the store. Much more convenient for everybody involved, and it saves you money. $15 a month is their premium plan. And they use T-Mobile towers, which currently are like the leader in 5G and the leader in 4G, to get this wireless premium plan for just $15 Rooskies shipped to your door for free, by the way. No extra in shipping. You go to mintmobile.com/Sal. My name, simple, S-A-L, Sal. That is mintmobile.com/Sal. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Sal. I'm not kidding with you. This is a very, very good offer. I went from paying about $105 a month to $15 a month. I saved $80 Rooskies a month or so. And then what do you do with those $80 Rooskies a month? Whatever the fuck you want. If it's DFS, if it's taking your honey, your señorita, your señor, if you're taking them out for a nice little dinner or two, you take yourself out to a nice little weekend trip. You buy yourself the nicest of whiskeys and you sip on it. Whatever it is, you get to do that now. So check it out. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you all a ton. Support the sponsors of the program to keep this going. Sign up on Patreon to become one of the 1,000 plus people in the family, the La Familia, so we can welcome you home. And we'll see you in the next one, gang. Top stacks video coming out tomorrow. Later today, the Thursday Night Football video. Best of luck today. There's your schmacks. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you when I see you.